If you didn't hear that, it was the song will be number 454. If you mark that as a song of encouragement when we get finished here, it won't be long. We'll be singing that. But in the meantime, I got a few little words to say here. So we'll see how this turns out. I'm gonna, I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk very much. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty or nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me. Proverbs 30 and verse 8. You know, people, well, I use myself as an example. Read that probably 100 times, but you never have really sat down and thought about what it says. He said, remove from me vanity and lies. That's, you don't need to be doing those things, And he said, give me neither poverty nor riches. Now you think about that. Give me neither poverty or riches. Where's that put you? Riches, poverty, somewhere in here. But people are not satisfied with that. They go all out to try to outdo that. But what I want to talk about tonight is not that. It's this: feed me with food convenient for me. That's all we need, as humans to survive on this earth. We got to have food to keep our body alive. We got to have something to eat, and I'm sure most of us in this world today have plenty to eat. There's few people that don't, and I feel sorry for them. And if there's anything we could do to help, we need to do that. But here's the fact: in the beginning, God told us what to eat. He told Adam and Eve. He said we could only eat green plants. You think about it. Then God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed, it shall be food for you. Now think about that just a minute. He said, every plant. There's some that'll kill you. You eat them, it'll kill you. But here's the key: that has seed. Notice, every plant yielding seed. That's the ones you can eat. You can't eat some of this stuff that grows up and don't never have seed in it, because it'll kill you. Then after the flood changed a little bit, and even at that time it was, about stipulating the yielding of the seed thing, kind of emphasized what you could and what you couldn't eat. And then after the flood, He revised that a little bit, and He told Noah, every moving thing that is alive shall be food for you. I give all to you as I gave the green plant. Genesis 9 and verse 3. Give it all. Now we need meat, so to please. But that also came with stipulation. Not there in that particular place, but a little later on, it was given with stipulation. Later we find that certain animals were not to be eaten. Not to be eaten. Whatever divides a hoof, thus making split hoofs, and chews the cud, and among the animals you do not eat those. Leviticus 11 and verse 3. And among some of those animals was that you can't eat is a camel, the chafan, pig, and there's more. There's others. He even dictated what we could take out of the sea and eat. In Leviticus chapter 11, there's a whole list of stuff you might want to read sometime. It tells you the things that they can eat and the things that they cannot eat. But then there's another problem. There's more to man than the physical body that needs food. There's the inner man, or the soul, that has to survive also. The inner man needs food too, for just as the body without the spirit is dead. So why you got to feed it too. You got to feed the soul, or the inner man. James 2:26 says, without it, you're dead. This body would be dead without that one. Unless the soul lives in the body, it dies. So it's imperative that we save the soul with some food. We got to feed it some food. He provided something for that too. He provided food for that. You know what that food was? Jesus. Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger, and he who believes in me will never thirst. John 5:35. My flesh is true food. My blood is true drink. John 6:55. And is not this cup that we bless a sharing in the blood of Christ? Is not the bread which we break a sharing in the body of Christ? 1 Corinthians 10:16. That's our food. That's our food. That's what we need to concentrate. That's what we need to fill his soul with. Is Jesus. And he's talking about the last part I read here. This is teaching you how to do that. We to do it with the bread and the wine. That's how we eat Jesus. And then we do what he said to do. We do everything he said that we were to do in his book. In his book. Paul told the Corinthians, he said, I gave you milk to drink, not solid food, for you were not yet able to receive it. Indeed, even now you're not able to. 1 Corinthians 3:2. How many Christians today do we have in the country that are not able to take solid food? Now, you know what solid food is? That's was called by Jesus the weightier matters of the situation, or the law, his law. That's the weightier matters of it. It's not the first principles of believing and repenting and being baptized. It's actually the fact of that. And he said, even then, and we don't know how many years this was passed since this was wrote. He said, the first time I told you, I gave you milk and not solid food, and now you can't even still have solid food. How long has that been? I've known people that was in the church for 60 years, okay, just a number. And I'm sure there was some more than that, because I remember I was particularly remember one old man, and he couldn't even lead a prayer. I mean, he couldn't lead a prayer. He couldn't tell you where anything was in the Bible or what it said, but he'd been a Christian for all them years. Well, how many years had gone by here, and they hadn't had any food to know what he's talking about, And he wasn't talking about food for the body, too. Don't get me wrong. He was talking about food for the inner man. That's the one that is important. Peter explained it a little better. He said, like newborn babies, long for the milk of the word, so that by it you may grow in respect to salvation. Like newborn babies that long for the milk or desiring the milk of the word. So we're told to feed our soul with the milk of the word. But there comes a time when you do away with milk. You take all you go back to secular living. A baby, it takes milk, but there comes a time when you got to get rid of that milk and give them solid food. It just happens that way. That's the same way it is with Christians when they're real small. A little Christian. Well, I'm not. I don't mean little small. I meant not young Christian. The new Christian better. Feed them milk. You feed them the easy parts. The easy parts. After they've grown a while, then they can handle the heavy parts. The weightier matters, and they can understand how they ought to do. For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you have need again to someone teach you the elementary principles of the oracles of God. And you have come to need milk and not solid food. Hebrews 5 and verse 12. So here we find the Hebrews, they were in a situation like this. They hadn't, the time that they should be teachers. And how many people do we have in the church today that's been there long enough to be teachers, and they can't even open a book to show you anything? They need milk again. That's what it is. They need to go back and have milk again so they can grow up to where they can handle the solid food. But solid food is for the mature. He who practices, who because of practice have their senses trained to discern good and evil, from Hebrews 5 and verse 14. That's the state that we ought to be in today. We ought to be having food for mature people because we've went through enough to know enough and practiced enough to have our senses trained to discern between good and evil. Hebrews 5 verse 14. And there's so many people, especially, we don't expect it of people of the world, but we do expect it in the church for people to be able to discern the difference between good and evil. But we got some people in the churches today around over the country that don't know their right hand from their left hand. So how can they explain, tell you the difference between a good and evil? Think about it. It's because they ain't had the right food. It's because they ain't had the right food. What do we desire to feed our inner man today? What do we desire to feed our soul? What do we desire to feed the inner man? Do we want to poison it, or do we want to feed it good food? If you want to poison it, turn the TV on. Listen to the radio. Listen to the filth of the world. Listen to the social media. That's the big thing today. Social media. Everything going. And I know people that sits with them things and they believe every word that's on it. They fuss and argue with you because of it. Social media. The biggest lying system is in the world today. And that is absolutely food that we don't need to be putting in our bodies. Because it'll poison it. And then after a while, it'll become to harden and burn and seared till we don't even care what happens. You know, everything's A-okay. We do whatever we want. We do whatever we want. If it feels good, I'm going to do it. I don't care what you think. I'm going to do it anyway. Because I know I'm the one. So the thing about it is, what are we going to feed our body? Jesus said he was the true bread and the true drink. So we need to be feeding our bodies Jesus. So how do we do that? By studying the Word of God, by listening to what he says, by applying it to ourselves. And as many as see us will glorify God. That's what it takes. I hope that's been a little benefit to you. I got a whole lot out of it doing it. If there is those in the audience that have need of the gospel for whatever reason, whether it be being baptized or forgiveness of sins that you've committed or whatever it be, just prayers that you'd like to have for, let us know as we stand and sing this song.